Okay, welcome to the bar in Ontario, Canada. I'm Sergeant Mercy, and I'm back with another game. Still a solo game. We're still, of course, in COVID, and I can't have friends over, but I'm going to try a new well, not a new variation. We've played it a couple of times before, but a variation. This is an alternate setup of the board. I'm using the Young Grasshopper modified board with a few minor changes here and there. In terms of country values, which are marked with little dice. So this is a 1939 setup, and it includes several additional powers. Let's see how we can zoom in here. The Dutch are a power. Okay, so they have Holland, Belgium as their capital, and they also have forces in the Pacific and the Money Islands. Those are the orange pieces there. The Canadians are in this game. They move with the British, and the South Africans are in this game, and they move with the British. In addition, moving with the Germans are the minor Axis powers in gray, and the Finnish powers in light blue. So there's a few additional groups on the board. Also, in addition to the UK's income being split between Europe and Pacific, the Americans' income is split between Europe and the Pacific as well. So I just want to go through all the changes. It is a new turn order. It's Germany, minor Axis, and Finland all together. Russia, Japan, United States, China, Italy, UK, Canada, and South Africa, all moving on the same turn. Anzac, Dutch, and French. Political situation. The United States can't declare war until the collect income phase of turn 4 unless attacked or unless the a UK capital falls. Russia can't declare war until turn 5 unless attacked or unless a UK capital falls. Italy is neutral for turn 1 and cannot attack or be attacked, and that's going to make a big difference because they will be able to consolidate a lot of their pieces. There will be no Taranto raid for the British. Mainly because actually Italy goes first in this particular one. Other optional rules. We're using graduated factories. So there's industrial complexes are the ones that can produce 10. Major factories can produce 5, and minor factories can produce 3. In addition, there is a new type of factory called a military base. There's one in West India, for example. They can produce up to 2 infantry, or if they're on a coastline, they can produce 1 transport, but that's all they can produce. They can't produce planes, they can't produce other ground units, just infantry or transports only. All countries have airborne, and that's works basically the same as or similar to the bloodbath rule set, in that you can designate a bomber to use as a air transport. The bomber can transport in non-combat, but only from airfield to airfield. And unlike the bloodbath rule set, there's no you have to wait until the next turn to get your bomber back kind of thing. Battleships and cruisers, their offshore shots are first strike, and there are no defenses for those. So that's kind of a big thing. There's none on the board, but countries have the option of buying pillboxes. And a pillbox gives 2 infantry plus 1 on defense. It negates the offshore shot first strike. Also, radar towers. The UK has one, for example. Radar towers are plus 1 on all bombing defense, plus 1 fighter on the scramble. We also have rail stations, which can only be built in countries with factories or military bases, and it allows for a number of infantry only up to the IPC value of the territory to be moved 3 spaces during non-combat through territory controlled by the power owning the rail station or through Allied controlled territories. Allies cannot use railways owned by other powers. The German Wolf Pack is a rule. If there are 4 subs together in the same sea zone, 3 of the subs are plus 1 to hit. And we're also using something called the spy rule in this game. And the spy rule is a rule that was based on a rule that was in another game called Samurai Swords or Shogun that has the ninja. And so basically the spy rule, I'll show you the sheet that has the spy rule instructions on it. The spy rule, I don't know how well you can read that in the video, but basically the way it works is at the beginning of each turn, all nations with a capital roll one die. So no China, and probably early in the game, no France and no Holland either. Highest roll gets the spy, ties re-roll until one nation has the spy. So the spy can do one of three things at any point in a turn. They can move one unit in or out of a combat zone after an opponent's combat move. So for example, if a battleship's attacked, it can move it out of the way. They can attempt to turn a true neutral to either a pro-Axis or a pro-Allied neutral. So the player must be adjacent to the neutral territory, either by owning a territory or by having troops in a friendly territory next to the neutral territory. One try allowed per nation. And the method is basically you roll a six-sided die. If you get a 5 or a 6, the territory must pay. If you fail to turn the territory, you have to pay the IPC value of the territory to the bank. And then if you fail, you can't try that again with that country. If you succeed, that country automatically becomes either pro-Axis or pro-Allied. The third thing that the spy can do is try to steal the technology of one existing research and development from either a friend or a foe. You roll 2 dice. If you get a 6 on either die, you get the tech of your choice. The country doesn't lose the tech, it just gets duplicated. If you roll 2 6s, the double agent feature kicks in. If you were trying to steal tech from a foe, you don't get it, and the foe gets to roll either a 5 or a 6 to get an additional new tech. And then if you're trying to steal from an ally, the ally loses the tech, as the spy has sabotaged it. So it's kind of a neat variant for the game. Also, most countries are going to start with technologies, and they're not necessarily the out-of-box technologies. We're using a special list of technologies. So the Germany, I'll actually bring it over to the tech chart. So that's, I don't know how well you can see that because it's not very well lit right now, but that's the tech chart. And basically what we have, Russia has enhanced artillery, so all artillery support up to 2 infantry or mechanized infantry. There's rockets, which nobody has right now. There's increased production, which is +1 on all factories for production, and half price on fixing damage from bombing. And Russia has that one. There's jet fighters. Fighters attack at 4 or less. And they defend at 3 or less when they're escorting or intercepting. So that's kind of big. Propaganda, you get to roll 2 dice, and you get to collect the amount of money with the higher die roll. There's also enhanced mechanized infantry. They attack at 2 or less if paired with a tank. They can blitz without tanks, and they can tow artillery during non-combat. Super subs, all subs attack at 3. Now again, if it's wolf pack, which the Germans have, then their subs attack at 4 if it's wolf pack, because it's +1, right? Detection radar, all AA artillery and built-in AA guns or facilities now defend at 2 or less. That actually enhances the radars that are on the board. Engineering, battleships, carriers, cruisers are now 3 IPCs cheaper. Destroyers, subs, and transports are now 1 IPC cheaper. Long-range aircraft, all movement is increased by 1. The Aussies start with that. Super carriers, the Japanese start with that. That's 3 fighters or attack bombers on a carrier. And then heavy bombers. When attacking during general combat or strategic bombing run, roll 2 dice for each bomber and select the best result. So as I said, Russia starts with enhanced artillery and increased production. Italy starts with propaganda. Germany minor axis and Finland start with blitz tactics with the mechanized infantry. Germany also starts with super subs. UK starts with detection radar. Japan starts with nautical engineering and super carriers, and the Aussies start with long-range aircraft. Some countries don't have any tech right now. The Americans, however, have this option to spend 10 IPCs at the beginning of each turn for the first 4 rounds and just get any tech that another country already has. So we'll see how that works. So that's the optional rules. We also, of course, have a whole bunch more, because this is a 1939 setup, there's a bunch more pro-Allied and pro-Axis neutrals on the board, and so the countries start a little bit differently. We'll do Germany, the minor Axis, and Finland's turn. Next, that'll be the next video that comes up. So I'm looking forward to this one to see what it looks like in the videos, and we'll see how this goes. So I hope you enjoy this game.